What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some r/relationships. If you'd like to skip that initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it really does help out this channel. Now, just a huge thank you for taking the time out of your days to be here. As always, it means the absolute world to me. Everything you do for me is absolutely amazing, so thank you so much. And with that being said, let's jump in to today's stories. Now, this story that I'm going to read first does have an update to it as well, and I just saw it on the top of relationships today, so I thought we'd dive straight in with that one. My girlfriend, female 20, cheated on me, male 21, with her best friend. During the summer break, my girlfriend cheated on me with her best friend, all the while keeping me in the dark, and the general communication was zero. We came back to college and I started hearing dumb things and excuses that led to fights like, "You kiss differently," "You've changed," "You're not who you were." I haven't changed a bit, it's just that something felt off. One day we had an event in college and we had a lot of fun. The same night I got a call from her. She was crying and she told me she cheated on me with her best friend for about 3 months. She told me she now realised she truly loved me. I don't like shouting on people or fighting, so I immediately cut the call and didn't want to talk further. She started bombarding me with calls. I picked up one call and told her that I didn't want to talk right now and was in no mood to discuss this further. She kept calling me. Now her friends also joined in. I was getting messages and calls left and right. She was crying and not eating. Finally I had to pick up the call. She was crying profusely and asking me why I wasn't talking to her. She kept saying "I love you," but I couldn't bring myself to reciprocate. I told her I wanted to break up, but that blew the lid off her and she started crying very loudly. I somehow convinced her to eat something and not cry. She kept saying she only wanted me and nothing else, but my trust was shattered. She made me meet her the next day, although I didn't want to. I told her I wanted a break and it'd be a long time before I was normal again. She just kept crying and asking me not to do this. She kept saying "I love you, don't do this," etc. After a while I thought maybe I was being too dramatic and I told her I can't trust her anymore. She said she would do anything. I could only tell her I can't do this. She kept pushing me. Me and my ex were really good friends. We broke up on mutual terms and would talk once in a while. She had a problem with me talking to my ex and made me block her. Finally I asked her to choose between me or her best friend. I'm not someone who does something like this. She used to hang out with him and leave me behind, talk to him and not answer my calls at times, but I trusted her fully. She said she wants to be with me. She made it a point to show me she blocked him. It was all well and good until about a week later when I saw she was talking to him on Instagram. I was hurt. I had started to trust her again to some degree. I immediately confronted her and she blocked him again, but I wasn't having any of it. She started crying and begging me. After a lot of this, I agreed to be with her. Now yesterday, again, I saw this guy's chats, never checked her phone. She was showing me something on Instagram and confronted her about it immediately. She started telling me how her friend became suicidal and this and that. I called the guy directly and talked to him in front of her and told both of them I wasn't okay with it and that she will have to choose. Now somehow my girlfriend told me I was being controlling by asking her to choose, and at this point I had had enough. I asked her to take her stuff and go to her hostel. I have a flat, she lives in a hostel. Now I thought talking to one of her friends who was quite reasonable was a good idea. I called her friend and she told my girlfriend to do what she thought was right. Then she took her phone off speaker and I was like, "This involves me, I would like to listen." At this point she started leaving the room. She had already packed her stuff, so in anger I told her, "If you leave, just don't come back." At this point she made up her mind about the breakup and proceeded to take her stuff and walk out the door. It was pretty late at night and I didn't want her to go in an unsafe situation. I chased after her and said I'd give her a ride. She refused, but I insisted. Finally she agreed. At this point she had told her friends and her best friend that we'd broken up. But during the ride she held on to me and started crying, asking if we were really doing this. I didn't have an answer. What do I do? Now, can we just say that this guy he sounds like an amazing person, although he's being like walked all over at the moment in this particular story, that he's an amazing person to still care about this person, even though they've cheated on them for 3 months and gave them multiple chances to sort themselves out and they didn't. And so yeah, he's been left with no choice in this matter but other than break up. But even after that, and she was walking out the door, he still chased her down the road to give her a ride to keep her safe. What a guy, what a guy. But let's have a look at some of the comments before we move on to that update. An anonymous says, and quotes, "What do I do? Break up. She cheated on you for 3 months and then blocked him. And then told you were being controlling for giving her an ultimatum. You'd be a fool to let her treat you like that." Maps 2001 says, "You gave her not 1 chance but 3. If you stay in this relationship, you deserve everything you're going to get." And Lil VB says, "Please leave, dude. You don't have to deal with this and give yourself time to heal before you look for another girl. It will do wonders for your mind." And Twisted X Panda says, "You deserve better. Sounds like you will be happier on your own for a bit. What really grinds is she was perfectly happy to give you the ultimatum to block your ex, controlling in her own words. Yet when you ask the same, she's a victim. Walk away and be happy doing it." And now for the update. A year ago, I posted on this subreddit. So I wanted to provide an update and thank my fellow Redditors. I took the advice and broke up and realised that the relationship was really sucking the life out of me and was the worst thing in my life at the moment. Since then I've met someone who understands me and cares for me. There's no drama. Well, I once ate the last slice of pizza and she got pretty angry, but yeah, that's the level of drama. We support each other and she makes me a better human all around. Because of my ex, I wasn't able to focus on my studies, and the breakup combined with the COVID pandemic gave me ample time for studying, and I landed an internship at a big bulge bracket company, and I'm also working on a few personal projects that I love spending time on. The pandemic also gave me time to realise that I was with the wrong person, and I love many others who love me, be it my family, friends, etc. I feel really liberated. Today I was looking back at what I used to be and I remembered that this subreddit for the trigger point for the change in my life. So thank you all, you are all awesome. It's because of you I've gone from crying nights to happy days. And don't you just love it when once in a while on Reddit we get a wholesome ending to a story. I'm glad that this person wasn't walked over anymore, and like they said, that it almost brought tears to my eyes when they said they found, like many others that love them, be it friends, family, etc., and they just feel liberated. Absolutely fantastic and a great ending to the story. Now again, our next story does have an update involved with it. So this is from Throwaway Zebra. I, 40 male, a happily married man, have become obsessed with a woman after having my world turned upside down. Like the title says, I'm a happily married man, but I recently went through a traumatic experience and have now been obsessed with another woman. Bear with me please as I relay the story. I need to change some of the details to preserve anonymity. My wife and I have been happily married for 20 years. We both love and support each other with all our hearts. In all this time, I have never had desire to stray or even had a crush on anyone else, not even a hint, and I'm pretty sure it is the same for her. We've built our lives together and are so totally enmeshed with each other. A few months ago, I was involved in what would be called a traumatic experience that turned my world upside down. I was in a small plane crash. The pilot and 1 passenger were killed on impact. The other passenger suffered severe injuries and I kept her alive until EMTs arrived, using first aid I learned in Boy Scouts. I walked away with cuts and bruises. You might think I would suffer for some sort of PTSD, but it's been completely the opposite. Everything about my worldview is inside out and upside down. Since then, it's like I went from black and white to colour television. I'm seeing things differently. Questioning everything, questioning myself, questioning bedrock foundations of what I thought was reality. I don't want to get too spacey, but let's just say it's like I've been reborn and I'm learning the world again. And I hate admitting this because of the loss suffered by families of the victims, but for me personally, it's all been overwhelmingly positive. I just have this overwhelmingly positive curiosity. I see my relationships with people and things so differently. I just see so much love and positivity and connection everywhere. And I can't help but spread and share this love. It's difficult because of quarantine restrictions. I'm in the US because I don't get too much interaction with people. My wife has been incredibly supportive and understanding. She understands that I went through a changing experience, but she doesn't understand and probably can't understand how fundamentally my worldview has been shifted. Was fine with that. I still love her and adore her. Recently it was suggested I attend a survivor support group, so I found one in my area and joined for a Zoom call. All remote due to COVID. Here's where my current issue begins. There were around a dozen folks on the call and it was a typical share your story kind of event. There was a woman on the call and I was instantly magnetically attracted to her. She was stunning to me and so serene and self-assured. We didn't interact any more than simple greetings, but I can't stop thinking about her. I go to sleep thinking of her. I wake up thinking of her. The best way I can describe it is, if you can remember being a teenager and find someone that has a crush on you, that's the kind of overwhelming elation I feel towards her. I hung on every word she says. I couldn't take my eyes off her, and to be clear, I don't think it's a sexual attraction. I just want to be in her presence, where we both can relate and connect on a level I don't share with anyone else. I'm not going to cheat on my wife, but I'm worried if I can't get over this obsession that my relationship will degrade away. And I don't know how to get over this obsession, and that's not fair to my wife. I really don't know what to do. You know what, I was going through this story and him talking about having like a life-changing experience and all this kind of thing, and I was thinking, bloody hell, this sounds just like me and how I want to share love and find the world completely different. And you know, I did get checked out, so don't worry about it. Just in case anyone's going down that route too. Because when everything what happened with me, like in the deaths and stuff that's been going on the last couple of years, people thought it was like PTSD. And so, yeah, I'm someone who goes straight to the doctors or therapists to get things checked out. And, you know, I think everything is good with me. Obviously, they're still keeping an eye on things as well. But I think this is PTSD, what this guy's going through. And imagine going through that, a small aircraft crash, being like the main sort of survivor, although there was someone else that was badly injured, but this person having to go through that, you must get flashbacks for that sort of stuff. Holy damn. But Defan says individual trauma therapy instead of group. You're obsessed with this woman as an avoidance tactic, and you're projecting onto her the understanding you don't think you'll get from your wife. And I do think you have PTSD, which is taking the form of a fixation on someone else just like you, as opposed to the usual stuff. And fuck this, there's therapists here. There is something called complex PTSD disassociation, which sounds very much like what you're experiencing. It includes changes in the perception of relationships with others and also the perception of the world around you. I don't want to minimize the positive feelings you're having because it's great, and there's no doubt you can come back to seeing this trauma in a positive light once you've done all the processing, but I think you have a long journey ahead of you with ups and downs. Right now your mind is trying so hard to protect you and make light of the situation, but it's working a little too hard and slightly disconnecting you from reality. I agree that individual therapy would be great for you right now. Your feelings are completely normal, so don't try to beat yourself up too much right now. Stay grounded in the love and morals you know, and your path will lead back to the person you were before the accident, with some added strength to weather the life ahead of you. And a fantastic comment there. Broad Sharp says, you actually do sound though as you are suffering from PTSD. All the earth-shattering revelations are the beginnings. Now your obsession with another survivor is trauma bonding. Seek individual therapy. And Anubis Cheerleader says, so, you have a different flavour of PTSD, my friend. Leave this group ASAP. And now we're going to head to the update post from OP, which says, well, I took everything you all said to heart and truly appreciate your thoughts and concerns. I did a lot of self-reflection. I'm not naive, and I realise my mind is injured and that this obsession I felt/feel is a result of a broken brain. And I concluded that, with the realisation of what is happening, I can shift aside those feelings and overcome them on my own. I did attend another group chat, and the woman I initially obsessed over was there not. Honestly, I was actually a bit heartbroken not to see her. There was a new woman on the call, and she acknowledged me in a few ways that lit sparks in me, and I am thinking about her a lot now. I wouldn't call it an obsession, but she's definitely in my thoughts, like a lot more than I think is healthy or natural. So yeah, I think I need to seek out help. And that's a whole other thing. I'm not kind of person who can easily admit injury or error, and I don't like to share my feelings, aside from behind a computer screen. So I'm going to work this out, even though it's really daunting. Once again, thank you for all your care and kindness. And let's hope OP does act on that pretty quickly, because it sounds like the longer OP's going to leave it, the more difficult it's going to get, especially now they're actually thinking about it as well. It could potentially eat them away, you know. So let's hope they do deal with that. But what about you guys? What do you think of this story? And have you ever suffered from PTSD, and how has it manifested? Let us know in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. I, 25 female, was attacked and robbed by a man in an elevator, and now my husband, 31 male, is stressing me out even more than necessary. Long story short, almost a week ago, I had to drop something off at my friend's apartment. It's a huge apartment complex, and the chances of encountering someone in the elevator are pretty high and nothing unusual, so I really wasn't expecting to get attacked by a random man when the doors of the elevator closed. It was a very traumatic experience for me, but I'm so glad that I got away with only a broken nose and bruises. It could have ended a lot worse, and I'm incredibly grateful it didn't. The man also took my phone and purse. Police and authorities have been contacted and the man has been found. I didn't have any relations to this man, so it was really just a random attack. I'm currently recovering more mentally than physically, and I'd love to have a little bit of peace, but that's not possible with my husband. Of course, this incident didn't just scare the hell out of me, but him as well, but he's transferring his constant distress and panic to me. Immediately after the incident, he bought me pepper spray and a self-defense keychain. He's currently trying to install security cameras almost everywhere, and he's also planning to change our door locks. He bought me a new phone and downloaded an app so he's going to be able to track me at any time, and he also wants to teach me self-defense techniques. He does martial arts training for kids and adults, so he's experienced with that. Don't get me wrong, I really appreciate all of his efforts to keep me safe, but he can barely sit still even for 2 minutes. This incident stressed him out even more than me, I think. At night, he won't come to bed because he's researching something about security cameras or things like that. I'm starting to get really worried about him because he's not getting any sleep and stresses himself out really bad. But he won't listen to me when I tell him that he should relax for like 5 minutes. As I said, I'm grateful for the things he's doing, but I'd be even more grateful if he calmed down for a bit. How should I tell him he should stop stressing himself out, or what am I supposed to do in general? Now, this is a tough one in my eyes. I don't know if he's just like being like super protective and, you know, going complete defense mode, or he's suffering from some sort of like secondhand trauma. Like he is really mentally ingrained in him now, and he can't get out of it. He's so fixated on trying to protect you, which, you know, is really loving, but also stressing you out at the same time. So I think you really just need to sit down with him first and just say, look, you are stressing me out. Can you just tone it down a bit? You appreciate everything he's doing, and you know it's coming from a loving place, but it's stressing you out. And I think that's the simplest way first, at least the first step, because if you can't calm down after that, then you might need to look into this a bit further. But that might be a bit too much for this at the moment. But Miss Twisted said, would he consider therapy? I think this is one of those situations where men and women react very differently. Women are basically taught to be scared their entire lives of being assaulted, raped and murdered. So while being mugged and assaulted is super fucking scary, for many women you'd be super thankful it wasn't any worse. Thankful the guy was caught and ready to just move on with your life. For a dude, the thought of being overpowered isn't a real thing to them, unless it's actually happened to them or someone they love. This, I'm guessing, is the first time for him. He's not lived his entire life with constant warnings and threats and anxiety and scares. I can only assume that having that happen all at once as an adult is world changing, and he needs to go talk it out with someone else. D. Trastavia says, I'll tell him exactly this. Hey husband, I know this is coming from a place of genuine caring, and I do appreciate the sentiment, but I'm trying to lower my blood pressure after this attack, and right now everything you're doing is only stressing me out more. If we need to find you someone else to talk about your anxieties, we can do that, but I can't take much more of this new hypervigilance. I don't find it helpful or healing, and I need you to just listen to me on this. And Helpful Name says, firstly, I'm so sorry about what happened to you, that's awful. Your husband, however, is suffering from secondhand trauma. Every instinct he has to protect you is in full go mode. He's not stressing out, he's in full panic fear reaction. That's not helping you, of course, but don't dismiss and diminish it as him just stressing you out. I will sit him down and tell him you appreciate everything he's doing to try and protect you, and you know this was a frightening experience for both of you, even for different reasons. Tell him that while you understand he's coming from a place of love and fear, what he's doing right now is actually putting a lot of stress on you when you really need to be recovering. Tell him that you see him not sleeping and being eaten up with worry, and that is stressing you out in turn because you love him and worry about his health and well-being too, and that's holding you back from recovering. And basically creating this whirlpool of trauma where you both negatively impact on each other. Tell him you're concerned because you can't give him the support and soothing he needs right now because you're handling your own trauma. And ask him to get therapy. Push this as much as possible. Sit him down and very openly and lovingly communicate with him. Give him the space to reconnect with you and feel safe with you again. That will help him calm down and redirect his stress and fear to therapy. You can get through this. You obviously love each other very much. Just add some more communication there and you will get through this fine. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What would you do in this situation? How would you deal with it? It's a very tough one in my opinion when someone loves you so much that they're doing everything they can to protect you, but also it's damaging to you after what you've been through already. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy these stories. They're a bit different from the norm, I think, today, and I did enjoy them. And I hope everyone that was in these stories does recover. Thank you once again. The time out of your day is absolutely amazing, and never forget that. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.